Just like any blockbuster this week against the Browns, well, they got some good news. Hollywood is back. Today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome in, everybody. Hope you're doing well. We're brought to you by FanDuel. And right now, you can get a big return because if you just go bet a $5 bet, you can win up to $150 back in bonus bets onto your account if you win that $5 bet over at FanDuel.com. Lot to talk about today as we're getting ready for the Browns. This is the crucial part. We've been pointing at this stretch all year, and we're going to break it down for you. He's Chris Clark from KC Chiefs Corner. I'm Ryan Tracy from NFL 33 and RGR Football. If you guys would go check out our other outlets, we would appreciate it. We try to give you all the breakdown we can here together, one-on-one. But if you want in-depth and if you like to read still, a lot of people still do, go check out KC Chiefs Corner and NFL 33 in particular. Thanks for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Make another Locked On show your next one. Maybe go check out the Browns. If you missed the crossover yesterday, go back and check that out because that will give you an inkling as to what the Browns show is like and where you can get the information. And if you want to be an everydayer, like our core listeners, we call them locos around here. They are at 816-357-8781. Go get subbed over there as well. Going to break it down like we always do. Who can be an X factor in this game? God knows we always need an X factor to win these close games. What are our predictions? That's coming up later in the show as we get closer to the end. But the must-win matchups that have to happen across the board on both sides of the ball for that to happen comes up next. And we start where we always do with a little bit of extra flair, little fireworks. Hollywood Brown has been cleared to participate, which means the Chiefs can open his 3-week window, 21 days, tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, whenever they feel like it. But one thing is clear, despite the excitement, he's not going to be playing in this ball game. But this is kind of what we've been waiting for all year long, right? They put all that work in preseason to set up Hollywood to be the number one receiver. And now he's going to be back. I think this is just the start of the role that the Chiefs need.
I'll be honest. I'll be kind of shocked is probably over the top, but surprised if he doesn't practice tomorrow. And here's why. Because you're in a situation right now where he is quite literally possibly not going to have a chance to play if they win the next couple of games and you have Buffalo lose and you have Pittsburgh lose. And then you're in a situation, you're not going to run him out there to play against the Broncos. I don't think you're going to do that. Yeah. But that brings up another question that, I don't know how Andy Reid is going to handle this when you start looking at it. When you already have your seating locked up, generally speaking, he will hold his starters out. Are you really going to hold him out knowing that they're going to get a week off? I would think you're going to, but that's going to be another thing. So the thing is with Hollywood, though, if they don't start it this week, then yes, it's just one practice if he practices tomorrow, but it would still be something that he hasn't had a chance to do. So I do think that there's value there, and and with where they are in the season, it doesn't really matter. You might as well bring him back tomorrow and get him out there on the practice field because the reality is they play Cleveland, then they play Houston on Saturday, and then 4 days later they play the Steelers on Christmas Day.
There's not a lot of
and if Hollywood isn't out there against the Steelers, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, agreed. And there's not as many practices in the coming 10-day stretch, right? So that does make an impact. And from what we gather, the reports are that he was out here in my neck of the woods up in the Colorado mountains today to have his final checks to get that clearance. There's only one place that happens, folks. And if you ever get up to Vail, you'll know what I'm talking about. So the fact that he's here today might be on his way back to Kansas City as we speak, as we're recording this tonight, before 7 p.m. Central. So getting that and getting back in for tomorrow, which should be just a 10-10-10 run through, that is certainly within the realm of possibility in my mind. And the reason that I like the concept is because this team has been struggling at the wide receiver position all year. It's been back and forth and injury after injury and who's where and who's there. Just getting him in the room and on the practice field to try to get loose, to try to hang out with the guys and start to get that camaraderie going, I think is a big lift for everybody else. Maybe no one more so than Xavier Worthy because they were supposed to be kind of like the duo that was going to help Rashee Rice, right? Well, now it's come down that it's been more Xavier and Hop, honestly, when it's all said and done. to get that trio together, I think that's really critical to where they have to go in January.
And the crazy thing for me when you start looking at this is I want to be clear when I say this. I'm not trying to take a shot at D-Hop because I'm sure he's a leader. I'm sure he's been helping Worthy. But Hollywood Brown is so much more like Xavier Worthy than DeAndre Hopkins ever has been. Yeah. And having Hollywood out there on the field with him and being able to go watch, I mean, obviously they're probably doing film studies in the facilities, outside. I'm talking about being on the field, being able to see what he's seeing when he's on the field. I don't think Hollywood's actually been there during the games, which is a little bit different a scenario when you have that guy that is basically you're coming into not necessarily replace, but to complement in a way where you both can do the same types of things. So when you're both on the field, the defense doesn't know who's going to do what. And the thing that this also does is look at what Worthy's done over the last couple of weeks. We weren't thinking that he was going to be where he is at this point in the season. Has he had a great rookie season? No, but most rookies don't in this system. And now he is looking, go look at that 3rd and 10 play. Seth Kaiser over on his Substack did a fantastic breakdown of that 3rd and 10 play. Worthy is sitting in a open zone. Travis Kelce clears the zone, and Worthy realizes I don't know how far it was, 10 or 15 yards beyond the sticks. I don't have to stay here. If I move up, I make the throw easier, and I can still get the first down, which is all that mattered. And that's what he did. And I'm not going to say that's a veteran move. It's really close, but it means he's learning where spacing on the field is, and that becomes a huge key in the playoffs. So him getting the extra time this year is a huge deal for this offense as well.
Well, and it's something he didn't have to do with Texas. It was, hey, go take the top off of this. You're going to get man. You're going to run through man. You're going to run through whatever's out there, and we're going to throw you the ball. Having to be able to adjust and play off of another receiver is not something that he's had to do of recent memory. So now fitting into a group, into a trio, into a receiver core, that's the next step forward to him. And this only helps him. And I agree. The similarity of Hollywood's game and his, I do think lends itself to helping him out just a little bit more, especially from on the field. But that's only one area of contention. How do they attack this team? Where do they get their must wins? It's coming up next. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings. Prize Picks has daily fantasy sports and makes it accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your money. Run your game all season long at Prize Picks. They make it simple, and they even invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out, even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money, even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So sign up today, and you can get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. You don't even have to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the Game Time app and use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and you're going to get $50 instantly after you play a $5 lineup. Super simple. Download that app, use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and get that 50 bonus for playing a $5 lineup. Super easy over at Prize Picks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite, and right now, you can save on unforgettable gifts with up to 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, you can score an extra $30 off with our promo code NFL. With 5 generations of experience and consistently delivering the world's best steak experience, the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it even easier to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. From legendary steaks to mouthwatering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide right now at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners are going to get an extra $30 off with the promo code NFL. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com, and you get an extra $30 off for using our promo code NFL. Minimum purchase may apply. I don't know about you, but I'm getting hungry, and I think the Chiefs are ready to eat against the Browns. Let's hope that they can get fired up. Yeah, right? It's a cold night. I think I'm ready. It takes setting up the plate, the table, to get ready to eat. And I think staying with this position group, there's one kind of strange matchup out there that I do think is a must-win that I'm not sure how you go about it, but I do want to point it out because a lot of people are going to tell you that Denzel Ward is a guy that you don't want to mess with when it comes to the passing game. He's averaging for the year 46% completion rate. That's it. Below 50-50 when you throw at him. But 2 of his worst games have come back-to-back in the last 2 weeks. He's given up 145 yards personally and over 67% completion rate. He is a guy right now that is not playing his normal level of game, and especially with speed, including Xavier, you can go attack him and make the most of it. I think rather than shying away from a top player on their defense, I would go attack him.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see how this plays out, because you look at how this game is stacking up, and I know we're talking wide receivers, but one of the things that's going to play into the wide receivers is how's the left tackle position going to happen, and what is the Chiefs' offense going to look like? And that's really what I'm curious about going into this game. I agree with you. Worthy has a great matchup if they can take advantage of it. But are they going to come out and do what they did against the Chargers at times and try to go up tempo and try to speed things up and try to make it easier on Wanya Morris so he's not having to be out there for 3 seconds with Myles Garrett? Because I don't think that that's a matchup that you really want to win. You really want to try to think that Morris is going to win. So to me, I like the matchup with Worthy and Ward, but you have to get the left tackle position taken care of, which is one of my must-win matchups. And it's not that he has to win it. It's that they have to figure out how they're going to take care of him. Myles Garrett is going to get some pressure. There's no doubt in my mind about that. It's how does Kansas City deal with him getting pressure? Are they going to roll out Mahomes to the other side? They can even roll him out to that side. It doesn't matter if you set it up right and you call the right types of plays. There's different ways to deal with it. And I'm going to be curious to see how Andy decides he's going to do it, because I do think that they expected Humphreys to be their guy going forward, and they rushed him in, which is why he's probably not playing this week. But that leaves you in a situation where now you have to feel like you have to go back to Wanya Morris, and this is not a good matchup. The problem is why, like we talked earlier this week, it's Wanya Morris, then it's Will Anderson, and then and Danielle Hunter, and then it's the guys in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. It doesn't get easier. I agree with you, and I'm glad that you bring up you don't have to win this matchup. And it's a weird thing to say, but think of it in this way. Every offensive line coach I've ever known has said this at one point in his career to me or another. You have to hate losing more than you want to win. And that's what it comes down to here. You don't have to be better than Myles Garrett. You're not going to be honest. You just have to not let him kick your butt up and down the field all day. You have to get a majority of draws against him, plays where you come out neutral. That's what you have to do. I personally, with no practice for DJ this week, I can't see him playing either. Personally, I want to see them go heavier. We've seen a lot of 12 personnel. I want to see an extra offensive lineman. I don't want to have the argument anymore about Wanya or Kingsley. I want them both out there on the field. I want to run 6 offensive linemen and keep them both out there to attack him.
That'd be interesting. And when you look at how they could take on this team, and honestly, that would be an interesting way to shorten the game as well, because if you get it to a point where you're running the ball on a regular basis and you now have 2 guys in Kareem Hunt and you have another guy in Isaiah Pacheco that are going to be going out there to run, I do think that you're in a situation where you could maybe, get some of those plays and get some of those things that you really want. But the question that you do with that is, if they line him up in wide 9, how are you going to deal with that? Because with both those guys out there, Kingsley has missed with his punch way too many times.
Yeah.
And that's been a big problem. So do you have Wanya on the outside and then you have Kingsley inside him? I mean, I get where you're going with that. I don't mind it in some degrees. I don't think that they do it on a regular basis. I wouldn't mind seeing it 20% of the snaps, quite honestly, because I do think that this is a game where they should be able to dominate enough on the ground that the passing game doesn't really matter as much, and they can win the game without having to pass the ball and without having to expose Mahomes. Because the other problem you're going to run into is, like we've talked about with the short weeks that are coming up, you have a situation where you have 3 games in 10 days, and now it's a lot easier for linemen to recover and to run the first week than it's going to be for any of the guys taking hits like a Patrick Mahomes or, tight ends or wide receivers or running backs, and P. Ryan doing his best pass blocking. I mean, there's just certain things that you have to look at with this condensed schedule that you really have to figure out.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And when you look at where to run, that's the next big thing for me because um, you have a couple of guys that I think, especially on the interior, Dalvin Tomlinson is a good player. He's a beast of a man, but you can get edges on him. You can move him aside or at least glance off enough so that you can find gaps, particularly for Pops, maybe more so than Kareem Hunt, who I think maybe after a couple of weeks being a little bit lighter in touches, maybe can platoon a little bit more. Maybe you can take that approach and go after it. Tomlinson didn't have the greatest game last week, a middling kind of performance. I would try to go attack that. And as you said, if you line Garrett out wide, fine, then go attack that A gap. Get downhill on them and use that to your advantage. That's a matchup on the offensive line that I think they have to win as a whole, not necessarily just the left tackle spot.
Yeah, and the big question is and talked about this a little bit on the crossover with Jeff, is, can Kansas City continue to dominate, and maybe dominates a little harsh, or maybe dominates a little bit much, but can they continue to be good enough when you start talking about stopping the running game? You're in a situation where you're going up against, quite frankly, one of the best running backs in the NFL. He isn't this year. I get that. But Nick Chubb is one of the best running backs in the NFL. He is somebody that is coming back from a very tough injury to come back from, and I guarantee you he will be another top back as long as he stays healthy next year. But he still is a dangerous guy, and that is going to be their offense. If they can get Nick Chubb to be a guy that isn't going to go off for 75, 80 yards, then you make it to where it's a Jameis Winston type situation, and he hasn't shown that he has the ability to beat good teams regularly. Can he win at certain times? Like, can he win on certain drives? Yes, but he can't be consistent enough to get the win at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to, is being consistent in order to forestall the whole process of attacking you and get a W. How do they do that? Who can be an X factor? That's coming up next. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers, you can bet just $5 and you get $150 back in bonus bets if you win right now. FanDuel Sportsbook, the app, gives you everything that you need to get bets in place for the NFL all in one place. So when you got a hunch in the middle of the game, you want to check out the latest stats, you live by that play-by-play, you can do that and much more on the same page right where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com today and join. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 and official sportsbook partner of the NFL. On a sad note, for me anyway, we're finally going to see my guy Cam Thomas, because he's playing for the Browns on their active roster and has already produced pressure for them in 2 outings and just 12 pass rush snaps. Still hurting over that one, but if that's the fact, it means that they need somebody besides Myles Garrett. So who can be the X factor? I think it can be, in a particular way, Noah Gray yet again, especially when you look at how you can delay him. If they're not going to go with my route with 6 offensive linemen, you got to have him, whether it's Kupp or Ferguson or whoever's the third tight end is going to be active. You got to be able to chip, and with a bigger body than a running back. And so for Noah in particular, I think he could be a guy that gets to look at Garrett quite a bit and have those delayed releases. That, I think, is one of the smartest things that this offense can do right now. Hit the quick game, the up tempo, come back the next drive, slow it down, and run some of these delays. Let guys drop to their zones and attack the creases.
Yeah, you look at this game for me, and to me, I don't like Cam Thomas being there either. I think that it's Kansas City. I don't know why Kansas City didn't ever really give him a chance. He never seemed to fit into the defense, it looks like. And I was hoping that he could at least, not necessarily be something this year for him, but maybe be something for him in the future, and maybe even give them something towards the playoffs. But luckily, they've stayed. I'm not going to go there, actually. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to say what I was about to. I'm not going to jinx it. You look at this game and you look at what the Browns are, and this is another thing I talked about on the crossover episode, is that, it doesn't matter that the Browns have only won 3 games, because if you go back and look at just about everybody Kansas City's played, Kansas City has come within inches of losing to just about everybody because they cannot seem to put the game away. They figure out a way to get it done in the end normally. But the problem is every single team that they have been playing this year seems to play Kansas City like it's their Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Every single week. Panthers week, it was their Super Bowl. Browns week, I guarantee you it's going to be the Super Bowl, especially considering Jameis Winston is going to be trying to get another contract for next year.
Right.
That's a huge deal for him. Like, it's a big deal. This game is big for him on a huge stage. So, to me, I think when you look at this game, it's Kansas City needs to come out and just set the tempo from the start. And I don't care if you run the ball 80% of the time on the first drive. Grind it out. I really think that this is a game where you go in there and you just dominate on the ground from the start, and then you get to a point where in the fourth quarter, the defensive line is so gashed, you're going to be running up and down the field.
Yeah,
I mean, They have the offensive linemen to be able to do that on a regular basis. You have the best 3 interior offensive linemen in the league. Juwan Taylor's been pretty decent in the run game. He hasn't been great, but he's been on good enough. And Wanye can block in the run game. Take advantage of that and use the passing game sparingly in this one. Don't risk some of the other things that would really make this something that'd be easy to lose.
I agree. I think for me, on the other side of the ball, the X factor guy has to be Trent McDuffie. Obviously, Chris Jones is always going to be an X factor. In particular, this week, Joel Bitonio, their all-pro guard, has not been practicing. Now, I don't know if that precludes him from a game. I haven't tracked whether he's been missing practice so far this season, but it is a back injury for an offensive lineman, and that is never a good thing. Yeah. So Chris definitely should be, but he's Chris Jones. The bigger thing is, with Amari Cooper now on this Cleveland roster, he's going to get a lot of attention. And he's a guy that I think has the ability to hurt the Chiefs even when they do play to their strengths of the longer, taller corners. And it does look like Joshua Williams is going to be able to go. He has a full practice this week, folks. So that is a bit of a relief there. But they're not going to have Njoku. It doesn't look like anyway. He has not practiced this week either. I know that he's been battling as well. I believe it's an upper hamstring, which is always a little bit tough. So maybe he can gut it out and go, but if not, it looks like it's Cooper. Maybe they try to do something with Tillman because he's got that length advantage on some guys. But the key is Jerry Jeudy, and that means that the X factor here is Trent McDuffie to not just cover him, but he's got to take the ball out of his hands, either with PBUs or, God forbid, he gets an interception. I can't remember the last time I said that, but we can cross our fingers, right? But Jerry Jeudy torched the Broncos defense that had been excellent to that point this season. So he definitely has that ability to go off. You have to counter with him, and you have to counter with your best defender in the secondary, and that's clearly Trent McDuffie. You might even have to put a little help over the top with him.
And do it. And, the other thing is get yourself in a situation where you are not Jerry Jeudy is their only real weapon. With Njoku likely not playing, the rest of this roster shouldn't scare you. And if Nick Chubb was able to run the ball, this roster would be a little bit scarier. But he's not Nick Chubb. He's not the normal Nick Chubb. So now you're sitting here in a situation where their biggest weapon, like you said, is Jerry Jeudy. Go shut him down. Put Trent McDuffie on him. Let Trent McDuffie travel with him, because the rest of the Browns rosters are just guys. I'm not going to say that they can't make plays, because it's the NFL and everybody can make a play. And like I just said a little bit ago, every single team seems to play Kansas City like it's their Super Bowl. So that is going to lend you to think that, they can come in and make more plays, because that is definitely possible. But the reality is this is a team that you should be able to beat, and it shouldn't be close. Now, the reality also is that Kansas City has had some of those games, and they have been close, including, let's think about this from the divisional perspective. Against the Broncos, they block a field goal and win the game. Against the Raiders, they stop them from having a chance to get a field goal on a fluke play to win the game. And then on the Chargers, they doink a field goal in to win the game.
You know what they all have in common?
In the division.
Right. It's all in the division. This division is crazy. Every division is, but this one is just weird. And I think going away to Cleveland is actually an advantage. So they can, I think, tighten up, focus up, and I think that they're going to be better off for it. How do you see this one going down?
Oh, I hate giving predictions anymore with this team, because it just never seems to be what you would want it to be. I look at this game and I think Kansas City they're the better team. There's no doubt. Obviously, with their record, we know that they're the better team, but it's just a matter. And here's the real problem. and the real issue that you're going to have in this. You finally get a full week of rest, or you get a full week of rest going into this game, but you know what your schedule is going to be like for the next couple. And yes, I know the other teams are going to be dealing with short schedules as well. I get that. So you're all going to be on about the same amount of rest. But you have to look at this game differently, and you have to realize we need to go win this game, but we need to do probably as little as possible to win this game.
Sounds like the season.
I understand. But the reality is if you go win this game, you go possibly 3 games up, and you have, the number 1 seed close to locked up at that point. But it all comes down to winning this one. And this is of the 4 last games that they have, this is the one that they should win easiest. Texans can be an issue, but they haven't been playing good. Steelers are a whole different issue. We'll get there in a couple weeks. But this is a Browns team they should be able to beat. So when you look at it, it's okay. They need to run the ball. They need to not turn the ball over, which Mahomes has done pretty well with lately. He's gotten a lot better not turning the ball over, and I know you appreciate that. I'm really appreciating that. So I do think that they're getting better in that scenario. He's starting to round into shape. And the bigger thing that we talked about in the first segment a little bit with Worthy coming on, while some people may not say he's been great, and I wouldn't say he's been great, you see him getting better. And that's what you need. It doesn't matter necessarily that he's not fantastic. It's just get better each week. So to me, use him enough, get the ball to Kareem Hunt. I will say this. I do think that Kareem Hunt scores a touchdown in this game. Just guessing, considering who they're playing. Man, I want to say that Kansas City is going to score 28 points, but I don't know that I can do it. So I think I'm going to go 24-17 Kansas City.
Okay. I like it. This is a tough one for me because of the last 4 weeks, the Cleveland Browns have scored 14 points twice. Yet they go against the best defense in the league in Denver, put up 32, and have to push them to score 40 to win. That's a tough one. Steelers as well. They put up 19 points. So I don't think – I'm sorry, they put up 24. The Steelers put up 19. So I think there was a flurry there, but I'm not buying the whole thing. So in the end, I think they struggled. The Chiefs generally are going to give up a cheap touchdown. That's part of the case. I agree with you, and I like the angle about Kareem Hunt. But I've learned my lesson. I cannot pick a large margin on this game. I just cannot do it until they do it. So with Kareem coming in on the goal line, I have him scoring to put the Chiefs up on the final touchdown. They win 23-21. I don't know how they get there, but that's what they do. And the Chiefs get another W. So
I don't want to see it that way.
We'd love to see what you guys think. Put your predictions down below in the comments on YouTube. Like, sub, hit the bell on all the audio platforms as well as this one, because we're free for you 5 days a week plus. We will be live post-game. At least one of us will. It's going to be a long time here, but it's going to start a roller coaster. 10 days. Bam, 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 3 games. It's going to be a lot of attention with Hollywood back. We'll keep you updated on that whenever the window opens, which should be soon, whenever a decision is made to put him back into the roster. So be prepared. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm ready for a ball game.
Dude, I will say this. I know we're talking about the Browns, but this Hollywood news is actually, in my mind, just a little bit even bigger than the Browns, because this opens up another level for this Chiefs offense, because I saw with my own eyes in training camp how much Mahomes trusted Hollywood Brown. I saw how much they had for him in this offense, and to not have it at all this season, and for him to go out the first week in the preseason hurt this offense. And I do think that this is a completely different offense with him in it, especially with D-Hop now, and with Worthy having all the extra snaps he wouldn't have gotten more than likely had you stayed healthy most of the season.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially when that point you had about putting all that work into what you were going to do with him and Rasheed, to have them both go out, and now you're going to get him back. I think there's a lot of upside here.
And you got Juju. Let's not forget about Juju. I don't want to he has his moments.
We do, absolutely. And I think they're taking it easy on Juju to use him later.
Oh, on purpose.
In the year. Yeah, absolutely. So we're excited. Hope you're excited. Make sure that you are with us along the way. Thank you for being with us today. Like, sub, hit the bell, get ready for the post-game live. We appreciate your help and your patronage. Thanks for taking the time to listen to us when you can listen to anybody. Thank you. Have a great night, a good weekend. We'll talk to you post-game.